That's what I'm going to talk about today. The world is loaded with noise to an extent that is deafening, which is not something that anyone has ever said before. Being able to sit with your thoughts uninterrupted by other stimuli, whether intentional, unintentional, sought for, not seeked out, it's difficult. So many things are fighting for your attention, either so that they can get your money, so that your eyeballs can get other people's money, or even that it can somehow get into your head. And that third one's not necessarily devious in any way. Attention is the greatest commodity that exists. You know, a mother can give a baby $10 million, but that $10 million isn't going to make up for the attention that the baby would have needed from the mother. The baby could try and eat the $10 million, but I think at a certain point would succumb to ink poisoning, which either will kill them or make them run for public office. Just as like a regular functioning person, being able to stay on a straight path of thought and consciousness in this ever amplified world is so difficult, but also, you know, that much more important to try and maintain. Being able to discern what entertainments or other types of activity should leach in through our system, or what we should actively turn away from, maybe come back to at another point. Just having that sort of control over what is flying in front of us and what is just kind of being fed to us. Especially me as a creative person, I've found it so easy to just kind of lunge from thing to thing to thing to thing, a lot of which surrounds like the center idea that I want to try and tackle, but I'm not just sitting down and attacking that center idea. I'm instead following other distractions to bide my time with, instead of just honing in on the actual task that I'm attempting to accomplish. And I know that I'm not the only person that deals with this. It's an ongoing struggle in today's world, and you know, I'm still doing my best to try and figure it out. These last few years for me have been me trying to forge some kind of creative routine that makes sense and works for me, to be able to sit down and develop my ideas and turn them in from the greatest ideas that materialize into the worst ideas into somewhat salvageable ideas. And that requires a lot of work, a lot of thought, and life doesn't necessarily allow for all of that constantly. You know, I'm a guy who still has to work other jobs that, you know, require a lot of my brain power and will take up some of my time. And you know, at that point, that sort of regiment and discipline is even more important. I'm not someone who has the funds to just kind of go and live a quiet life and do whatever. And there are people in especially worse situations than me who want to try and accomplish the same things. Focus is key. And me saying that, if you have watched any of the other videos on this channel, might sound disingenuous, but I try so hard to maintain a semblance of focus, and at the least on a channel like this, I allow it to kind of flow more in a stream of consciousness kind of way, perhaps to the detriment of whatever it is I'm trying to say. You know, I'm talking through my thoughts as they're coming through my brain, but also knowing that this is on a platform of even more noise in YouTube, where me just talking about this is being paralleled by whatever sports game happened the night before, top 10 funny baby crashes of '09, and whatever other type of content that is not even related to what I'm talking about here, trying to grab your attention and take you away from whatever it is that you're trying to focus on. And that's the problem with noise. Some noise is good. Noise is inevitable, but noise compounds. If you actually study how volume works, decibels is an exponential measurement. It's not a 1-for-1 where it's like you add 2 inches to 2 inches, you get 4. You add 2 decibels to 2 decibels, it amplifies higher than a unit of 2 just in, frequency, or how I don't know the exact metric of it, but it's an exponential thing. And as such, when you introduce more noise, more stimuli into your life, you are not moving up a straight line of introducing those distractions. You are exponentially increasing their control over you. That's a heightened value that you are losing to the noise. Like, here's the thing. I, for the first time, actually wrote down some of my clearest creative aspirations. I'm gonna share them here in a sort of embarrassing way, and ironically in a notebook that I just titled Jokes, because I, in between projects, developing projects, I'm still in a investigative place trying to find what I'm trying to accomplish, because in any kind of medium or such, there is a structure to successfully, quote unquote, perform the task, and then a procedure to authentically perform that task. It's the difference between calculating an equation and writing a poem. There's still a structure to something abstract like a poem, but what makes them so diverse is the application of the self. A number is a number. No one is going to change 5, no matter how hard we try. So in my notebook here, I wrote 3 things that I feel are part of what I am trying to do. I want to make things I find funny. That's true. That's something that every time I'm making something, I come back to, is there something in this that I find humorous? It might not even be a guffaw. Funny things don't necessarily invoke some kind of punch that results in a laugh. It can result in, some other types of feelings, at least for me. I want to make things that are visually appealing, which is just that when I'm shooting things, I always want to make sure that, I'm trying to frame pictures in interesting ways, or when you're staring at the image, you like staring at the image because it's real easy to just hold up a camera and go with an idea, but I feel like more and more that's the kind of avenue that I'm interested in going down. And then the last thing is I want to make things that are abstract, which basically is just that I don't want to literally say what I'm trying to say. I'm not interested in that type of conversation. If I was, I think I would just be an editorialist or something like that. In an avenue like film and in art, I feel like the abstractions are so important in terms of layering metaphor, however other kind of pretentious way you want to describe it. But I did all of this because I'm succumbing to the noise. I'm having a hard time balancing not only what I'm ingesting and finding interesting, but also the stimuli I have for what inspires me, for what drives me. And that as well is commingled with whatever other noise goes on in my brain, self-doubts, obsessive compulsions, other things that throw that whole balance out of whack. It is such an amplified noise that I finally felt I need to just break these down into words that are material, even if it feels lame, even if it feels potentially even like not where I want to go down. I need guidance. And that's the problem with noise. When you have no guidance, the road to building these things is so much harder. And I never really had any kind of great guide on how to sit down and write, or how to turn an idea into something. I've had to just figure it out my way. And it's been beneficial in trying to build authenticity because I'm the one solving all of the problems. But, you know, it also demands so many resources out of me as the sole person trying to figure out those problems, of trying to filter even through pieces of advice or other types of things I could get from friends, from reading books, from watching movies, hearing people talk. I still have to come up with the answer. And if you're piling noise on top of trying to process that thought, you're not going to get the purest form of that thought, or the purest product of running that whole idea through your brain. But in talking about all of this noise, I also struggle with the idea that I am a creator of noise. When I'm making something, for some people, it can be a kind of distraction, where if it's supposed to be funny, it's to give them a ha-ha for a moment and maybe put them into a better headspace or something like. And like, these are beneficial kinds of noises, but also, am I in some capacity exacerbating this very problem that puts me into a tough spot? And you know, this is a purely waxing philosophical question, because the answer, it can't be that I need to stop doing the thing that brings me joy. The answer has to be, how can you diligently provide things that don't harm people? And I think that's ultimately the main thing I continuously have to remind myself, is that even though noise is a struggle in today's world and people are all trying to grab your attention, me putting stuff out into the world where it would be nice to have that attention is not me doing the same kind of devious thing as, you know, say like some kind of influencer who is just doing dances so that way you go and buy Cheetos or Mitsubishi Highlanders, whatever it is they're trying to peddle to you. Not all noise is made the same, but when you are demanding people's attention and they're going to give it to you, respect that they're giving you that attention. Do your best to make that attention worthwhile. Try your darndest to be some of the good noise, something that can go through the brain and maybe inspire someone or put someone in a better place, help them figure out things for themselves, and help them to be the best version of themselves, or to ask questions that help bring them to that path. That is the ultimate product of great art. And great art in that way is not bad noise. So as a whole, I want people to take this as a reminder that the world will want to grab your attention in any way possible. And you always have the choice of what you want to ingest and digest. You know, sometimes bad noise is fun. I recognize having bad noise is fun, but if you're only being inundated by that bad noise, it's the same thing as putting bad fertilizer into a cornfield. You're just going to get real shitty corn. Although if you put good fertilizer in, it would just be great shitty corn. Do your best to put your mind on what it is you want to accomplish and what it is that you are trying to go for, whether it just be in a simple project or even something as broad as the arc of your life, of what trajectory you're trying to achieve. Do your best to drown the surrounding noise and really find what that nugget is at the inside that you're trying to go for. And even in silence, you might not be able to find it, and you'll have to let some noise in to inform you on how to interpret it, sculpt it, whatever type of verb you want to apply here. Do not do yourself the disjustice. The disjustice? Don't do yourself the injustice of letting the world shape you a certain way. The world and its noise will try and morph you into a specific type of thing, and while, you know, some of us are restricted to that form, it's not who we are necessarily, and the bad noise helps contribute to that. The good noise and also just being able to separate it all helps us stay true to ourselves and be the best version of ourselves that we can be. Because if this world did not have a version of you or a version of me, then, I mean, not a lot of things might be different, but I sure as hell would notice if I wasn't here. I hope this was a piece of good noise and not bad noise, and I hope that you're having a good day, things are going well for you, and if they are not, then let this be an opportunity to remember that things do get better, and that in discomfort, you usually are able to pass through a door into, a better place, more broad perspective of things, and that sort of enlightenment and experience and education is not necessarily something you're ever going to find in books or in other types of things, but just by living through it your way is how you have that most authentic version of that experience. I just want to be good noise, but I also think it's so important to remember to be clear on what it is you want to do, who it is you want to be, and not obsess over it, but just have those little remarkers, those little pieces of foundation that help keep the house together, because it is so easy for it all to come falling apart. Yeah, that's all I have to say on that. Do I have any jokes written in here? I got a joke in here that says, I come from a family of plumbers. Both them and my friends died from crap lung. So that's true, by the way.